Good morning, everyone. I'm Che here at BBRC. I am the program manager here at the center, and I work most closely with teachers and organizers in executing their retreats here on land. And today, for our Q&A, I'm speaking with Mary and Sydney of Meditation Coalition. They will be hosting one of their ninth annual retreats here for developing a deep intimacy with our experience. So, Mary and Sydney are hosting a retreat for those who identify as women or have a connection to femininity in some capacity, and an opportunity in this retreat to really sit with ourselves, really sit with yourself, and get into your life experiences, especially the difficult life experiences, and how you can sit with them, be in intimacy with them, and move through them and explore them. So we're going to dive into some questions. And all right, Mary and Cindy, you ready?
Absolutely.
All
Go
right.
for it.
So the first question is, what inspires you to teach the focus of this retreat?
Mary, you want
I
to?
sure. Thank you. I I have been working with the idea lately of equanimity and how do we really sit with what's happening right here, right now. And we have developed so many mechanisms for distracting ourselves, and the society we live in provides so many more to take us away from feeling, and we're so disconnected from our emotions, our bodies, that taking this time to really pause and turn towards what may be challenging, what may be uncomfortable, what perhaps we've not looked at before, that I think is really a worthwhile endeavor, one that I try and do. And as I said, I've been really practicing with that recently over the last several months, for years, but intentionally over the last several months. And so it seemed to make sense to, I offered that up as as what perhaps we want to do in this retreat. Plus, equanimity is the Buddha teaches that, and it's the culmination of so many lists. It's really where we want to go. This capacity to be present for our lives, regardless. Thanks.
Mary has a series called The Undefended Heart. And I remember when she first asked me to participate in helping her um, share with folks what was deeply meaningful in her practice and in her walk. And kind of, I'm talking about you, Mary, kind of her way of like, um, how do we come together to be stronger? What's the focus? And so this undefended heart can really be a powerful image. I love words. And so when we were thinking of what to offer for this year, Mary came up with equanimity. Um, and my joy, my challenge, my commitment is to keep creating platforms and spaces for women to come together, to explore the Buddha Dharma, to explore each other, and to be with what is difficult in those spaces. So I always say, the Buddha and Buddhism didn't have me in mind when it came about. And yet there's a deep calling, there's a deep resonance in my heart about the teachings. So when I mean they didn't have me in mind, Black-bodied, but also womanness, female-bodied. And so there's gaps, I think, in ways in which the teachings are presented because it tends to be an all-male perspective or experience. And so this women's retreat is really dear to me. It always has been as a practitioner when Mary and Joanna started it. And it is now that I have been called forth to help it move along. And just the love of this moment right here, everyone, I want you to hear, and then I'll stop talking. Shay was on our last retreat as a participant in an incredibly different energetic when you came to us, when we came to know you. And now you are a leader, a manifester, a collaborator, a joiner. That's why I do this retreat. That's why I do this retreat. And Marianne, who helps us run it. And, you know, the Big Bear Retreat Center, who welcomes us every year. There is a commitment to supporting women and womanness in that way that has been alienating or communicates something's not right with you, self-loathing, something. And so equanimity is the lens that we choose this year, but the container itself, the way that this retreat has been thinking of you, loving you, has you in mind, come and be with us. And you know, who knows, you may be running BRC like Shay is. I mean, Mary, I hope you feel proud. I'm like a proud parent sitting up here going, it's beautiful. I was so overjoyed when we came on today to see you in this capacity.
Oh, thank you both for those really rich and deep shares. And thank you for the acknowledgement and the mention. Yeah, the retreat for me last year came at such a pivotal moment when I really needed that level and depth of silence and stillness, and to really be able to sit with myself and move through some heavier things emotionally that had just happened to me. And it gave me the space to really dive into spiritual reminders that I know to be true. And in that space, in community with others, with other women, those who identify, with femininity in various capacities, yeah, I was able to hear and remember so much. So, yeah, it was a really sort of delicious and much needed time for me last year. And I am forever and incredibly grateful for it. So, thank you both for leading that and asking us to dive in that way. Yeah, thank you. I would say, who or what inspired you to teach the Dharma?
Uh, okay. I'm the person who jumps into empty space. So I actually was invited to teach, to join a teacher training. I really had no intention of becoming a teacher, but I was invited by someone I was sitting with many years ago who started a teacher training. And it was a long journey for me. It was a journey of, because it's not just about, memorizing lists and learning how, or sitting in front of a room and practicing meditation. This invitation for me was a call to learn how to become authentic, and a call to learn how to become vulnerable, and a call to go into therapy because it was, I could sit in front of a room and talk about it, but unless you have, it's, the teachings are integrated into your life and they're how you move through the world and have the experience with them and can recognize that, it's it's, I don't know what the word is, but it's, I'm grateful that I was invited, and I'm grateful that I had people tell me, you know what, you have gone through this teacher training, but you're not really ready to teach. You need to do some work before you can get in front of a group of people. And I'm grateful I was able to hear that, and I'm grateful I was able to do what needed to be done and really dive in, do sit retreats and listen to the feedback from people. And now I'm grateful for those experiences that kind of broke me open. They talk about that, the need to, not people can be teachers, but can be really adept at spiritual bypass, and that inauthenticity is can be damaging. It's just another distraction, and so I yearn to really investigate where I'm still deluded, and I think that's what that I think that necessity to have somebody um, in front of the room who can speak to the reality of the experience of the Dharma in their lives. I find that meaningful. And I'm grateful that people still show up. And so when people show up to hear what I have to say, then I feel that's a continuing invitation to teach. So that's why I'm here.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks for the question. I want to be very clear about the question. It's who or what inspired us to teach, and not who or what inspired us to come to the Dharma, because that's something a little different. But I want to say women, other women, pain, and timing. So what do I mean by that? Beth Mulligan will be forever in my heart. She snatched me up, maybe Che, very much like you, at a time in your life when we came together last year for you. Divorce, loss of the ability to have kids, a lot of cancer, landscape, dukkha, work, body was hurting. Just a very challenging time, lost the job because of all those things. And Beth Mulligan, who was a dear, dear friend, said, come and sit retreat with me. And she took us out to a Joshua Tree, and she said it under the guise that she needed a retreat manager, someone to help her. And I knew how to do things. So, women and women identified, if this sounds familiar, I knew how to do things, but I did not know how to sit and be quiet. And immediately in that space, I was given a kind of quasi, as a retreat manager, you're teaching and you're holding teachers. And so I was very close to the inner circle of what was happening for teachers during this retreat, and taking notes and helping them. And she immediately said to me, not too long after that, you should teach. And she said, do this training, go here, sit here, do this, read this book. And it started that way. And of course, as Mary said, just because someone tells you that doesn't mean you're like, here I go. There's a huge, I believe, purification process that is absolutely necessary to being a teacher. I feel like I'm in one of those periods again. And but I do have the ability to communicate things that are difficult, that are challenging, that may be hard to see or accept. I do have that. And that is what I believe she saw. And this ability to hold space, you know? And then another thing that I found out about myself, the more and more and more that I practiced, and I don't know that we talk about this so much, but, Mary kind of pointed to it, is embodiment. Like, I want to be something that it's not really what I say that's so important from that cushion or dais or platform. It's what I'm holding, you know, that can communicate so much. And so I think that that's something that I encourage women in particular to understand. But if in fact we're experiencing something about womanness that has us reject our bodies or hate our bodies or push off from our bodies, that teacher capacity can fall flat or not be fully juicy or fully dimensional. And I've found that um, in teaching, in missteps in teaching, and I've also found that in receiving the teaching, right? This fullness of all that I am sitting on the cushion, that purification process. I think that that is what keeps pulling me forward as a teacher, because I can share with you in the last year and a half, I have actually uh, wanted to step away from teaching. And that has not been what I have been able to do. And so I've had to sit with that. So it's so beautiful. And so that's the person. And when I mean pain, I want to just unpack that a little bit. Yes, pain brought me to the practice. Pain moves me forward. But it's also the pain of our nation. So in this skin suit, there were many, you know, meditation halls and Dharma centers that didn't have, Black women. And so that was the timing. I just got kicked up into these incredible teaching opportunities. So the Dharma, life can call to us in very strange ways. I have always been a teacher, even outside of the Dharma. I believe, as Nelson Mandela said, if you want to free a nation, you educate. The nation is through education. Education absolutely revolutionized my life. It catapulted me out of poverty and addiction and trauma in many, many ways. And education is what Black folks believed in for forever. So I have been an educator and I am an educator. And so teaching is what I believe we do. I also believe that that is what a Sangha is. We are here to teach each other. So I believe you're a teacher too. But we know that in Dharma circles and in this Western Buddhist ideology and configuration, and it's just Buddhism in general, there is a teacher kind of pathway and hierarchy. And I'm still very, very early in it. So
Yeah, thank you both for those answers. Really glad to have you all say yes to the Q&A, because now other folks who haven't sat with you get to experience some of the things that I did. And there's such a rich honesty and a very authentic, tangible honesty to me, for me, in the way you two speak in terms of how the Dharma has sort of left an impression on you, how you continue to feed it through your own channels and offer it to others. So, so thank you for always kind of showing up in that energy and with that presence and giving in that way. And the next question that feels like a yes for me is, what are both of you focusing on right now for your own personal spiritual growth? I know both of you have kind of touched on it in different moments and some of the other answers, but yeah, just curious what that might be in the moment.
I'll go. Yeah, compassion. I am really working with having a deep, juicy, portable study, understanding, experience, transmission of compassion. And through the body. I can't tell you, as a woman, I The Theravadan branch of our Buddhist, teachings and study um, has many wonderful and deep ways of understanding liberation, but there was always this point that was unsatisfactory for me. And it's this pushing past the body. I can't push past this body in an ultimate experience, but in a relative experience. My ancestral weight doesn't actually allow for that. This body as female, the way that it suffers its hormonal changes, its cycle, its pregnancy, its menopause, there are comorbidities or illnesses that follow a female or a woman's body that don't follow a male's. And it's just been amazing to be in places of meditation that somehow suggest to leave that, to push that, to take your mind off of that when it's all here. I will leave aside being a racialized being and how that is projected onto the body. So I've really have been exploring the Mahayana Bodhisattva compassion practices, kind of in a Vajrayana tantric, and not tantric as in sexuality and sex, but as in a body that is bringing in the phenomenal experience of being fully alive, and in pleasant and unpleasant ways. And so as I see what's happening in our nation, as I see what's happening on the global stage, as I see what's happening in our families, as I see what's happening for our environment, I have been asking myself, is there a way to be with this that I step away from war? I step away from the structures and the constructs and the markers that have me do battle, that have me resist, that have me get tight, that have me turn away, that have me say, no, not this. And so I have had to dive very, very deep into compassion. And I'm teasing out the differences between loving kindness and compassion. The Dalai Lama, in his last summit, posited something that I found so deeply curious and problematic. And basically, what they're saying is that they believe that compassion is innate, that it's in the DNA. And I thought, wow, gosh, I mean, and then I think of this incredible Netflix special. Is it Bones in a Cave? Or I'll have to find the resource for you, Che, but it's about these 2,500-year-old bones that they found, not on the hominoid, I guess you will, line. This is actually Mary's a specialty, but not yet human, not actually animal, something in between 2,500 years ago, that they carried their dead into this cave, very deep into a cavern, and that there was one child that was buried with a toy. So when I see all of the rejection, when I see all of the heat, when I see all of the judgment, when I see all the no, 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 I'm like going, what is actually going on here? And how can I meet equanimity? How about tenderness, compassion? How can I be with what I see as it is in a fuller, more accessible and deep teaching, study, well of compassion? And without all that other stuff about codependency and depletion and resiliency, like what if we just said, just suspend all those words? How do I have a new experience? And I need the body to do that. So I'm just there. And I keep reading the Law of Rim, these teachings from Batista where, and don't be impressed. I'm on page 8 for the last 3 months. But what is the importance of compassion and enlightenment? And they said, like, oh, before you even get to enlightenment with all the lists of things, you need to have a capacity for compassion. And and he says compassion is important when? Compassion is important in the beginning. Compassion is important in the middle. And compassion is important in the end. In this process of awakening, in this process of life, in this process of coming to awaken. I said to myself the other day, girl, I know enlightenment can happen like, a snowflake in water. I know it can. I know you can have them up, pop, get it. I know it can happen over eons and eons and eons. Girl, what if you're not even there? What if you're just in that phase of purifying and cleaning everything up so you can even begin to have the fertile ground to accept a mind like this guy? Is that cool? Are you okay with that? And are you okay that you get this assignment? Like, you don't even get to go to enlightenment. You're like, can you talk to her for a second? Oh, this person needs you. Hey, Sid, could you stop and go over here? These folks are really suffering. Can you share with them what you learned about this? And can I be like, damn, okay, right? Because compassion, pointing to compassion and accessing compassion. I'll say this to me quiet. I was teaching the other day, and a woman so beautifully shared, Sydney, I believe in compassion, but I get so tired and I'm so hurt. I don't want to offer it anymore because it feels like it's been refused. And I said to her, can compassion be refused? Can it? I said, oh, let's sit with that. Can compassion be refused? The generating of it is what I'm here to do. It's not where it goes. Or I said, isn't compassion like law? You throw a rock, there's a ripple. You drop a glass, it breaks. You take an in breath, you have an out breath. Compassion is this thing that just goes like this. That is what she does. And can I just understand that that is the receiving, the generation of it? We can't help but do it if we can get away all of the distractions. So, sorry, that's where I'm at.
Thanks, Sydney. And thanks, Jay, for this question about the focus of my spiritual growth right now, because I don't know if I've articulated it as much as I have been moved towards it, moved to take steps in particular directions, but knowing that it's for this reason, this spiritual growth, this spiritual practice, what would be most beneficial in this moment. And I think on a much more personal level, it's about continuing to quiet the mind and connect with the deep foundation, because there's all the conditioning in my life has provided clutter and chatter in the brain, in the mind, and had me moving in particular directions and acting or not acting in particular ways. And a lot of that is just kind of really dampens me and doesn't allow me to do what my heart or what I think needs to be done. And I have found in years of, and this stuff just doesn't happen, because I love making lists and getting things done. I did a year abroad in college and moved in Israel. I did a junior year abroad, and I remember I had wrote down like Thursday afternoon, learn Hebrew. Like that's going to happen on Thursday afternoon. And so, but so I have this idea that things are going to get done, but it's like in the Dharma, I've learned that, oh no, this stuff I didn't get to this place. I didn't develop these protection mechanisms. I didn't, Sydney mentioned the undefended heart. I didn't build these walls in a minute. So chipping away at them and opening up and really reconnecting with the deepest intention of compassion, of kindness for myself and for others really takes time. And so I'm really moving in this place of quieting and grounding and seeing what's getting in the way, letting go of those continual shoulds that show up. You should be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. And how, that can be really have in my life been debilitating. They're no longer debilitating because I can see them for what they are. Those shoulds are showing up again, and that may be uncomfortable, but how do I let go? So I'm going on a personal retreat this next week, and I keep going, I'm going to get all this accomplished and I'm going to come out the other side, like, and then I go, no, it's just going to be what it is. But the intention is to really slow down and pause, because I can be a very busy person doing a lot of good things, but not necessarily in a wise and skillful way. And so how do I show up in a way that's most wise and skillful for myself and for others? For me, one of the biggest things is finding a voice. I learned early on that it was better not to say anything. It was safer to keep my mouth shut. And so I really developed a way of not saying anything until I knew the lay of the land. And then I would kind of chime in I was a chameleon for a long time. And my practice in wise speech is not just about truth telling, but is about finding a voice and saying what needs to be said. And I'm still working with that years and years and years later. And so I'm still trying to chip away at what gets in the way of me speaking what I feel needs to be said. And so hope that's continuing to be my practice, this foundation of wise speech, and a continuing reconnection with my that continuing reconnection, because I was disconnected, so disconnected. It was so much easier just to try and think my way through everything, which doesn't work. And separate from that, continue my deepening my connection with my ancestors. And I want to spend some time listening, just listening. And so I think the quiet, it'll be what it is this next week when I go into some quiet time. And I think that's a form of connecting as well. that connection to ancestors, however that looks like. But that's a real, for me, it's like growing roots and recognizing that I'm connected to the earth, to everything, to everyone. And so that's just another piece. This also spiritual practice is this really recognition of our interconnectedness. Thich Nhat Hanh says our interbeing. Absolutely. So that's really, really important to me right now.
Wow. Thank you both. Such heartful practices, that yeah, you can't help but be all of yourself, to dive into any of those that you've mentioned. And it asks you to also probably really shed a lot in my mind too, right? To really get to the core of your beingness, the core of your divineness. Yeah, especially with compassion. Ooh, that's such a stretch practice. Yeah, oh man. Oh my goodness. Well, so my last question will be, if anything comes to mind for both of you in the moment, what are any bliss practices that you have? If you have one, if you have a few, anything that, would move you to just laugh or to find lightness in a moment. It could be, just getting some sunshine even, but anything that, brings you some joy and some ease.
Mary, I'm laughing for the both of us. This is the new generation, huh? We never had bliss practices. It was like, sit still, don't move. It's new. Do you have a bliss practice, Mary? I know you do. I know you do. You're
I wanted you to go first so I could get an example.
okay. So
Because, like
Shay
you
is
said, you have
pushing
a
us.
bliss practice?
Yeah, Shay is pushing us. But true. These are true ones. Um, I love, 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 love to get up in the morning uh, before the sun comes up and really just watch light come into the day. And you can really, right as the sun is starting to come up, there's this little breeze that tells you it's getting ready to happen. The birds, just that whole thing. I love that. Another one I love is barefoot in the grass practice, just walking, earthing. Um, and if you have the chance if you have any bees, I have, some sage that I let just keep flowering and, going back, flowering, going back, because the bees get real close to them, lay down and just listen to them hum. And I do really enjoy walking with a friend, walking with other women, you know, and we walk for a couple of miles. She's all the way up. She just let me have it, telling me everything. We turn the corner on the way back. It's my turn. And that deep laughter, that real connection and being there and just pouring into another woman's life and just listening. I have to tell you, those are some of the greatest moments in my days these days. And cinnamon tea with a lot of ginger. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Mm.
I actually,
Wait, and I have to be honest. Pickleball.
I might ask to go play pickleball with you at some point. But I'm scared. um, I actually do think this intentionality around joy and bliss is incredibly important. And I did the Awakening Joy course a few years ago with James Barris. I thought it was like, but it's really solidly rooted in Dharma. This intentionality around recognizing. They talk about 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. We tend to bring up the sorrows, but we miss the joys. And And Rick Hansen talks about it in this spending time in what brings you joy and bliss has a really helpful, beneficial impact on the brain. It really helps a lot. And so for me, I love my kitties. I got the sweetest little kitties, and I just will stop and watch them and laugh. And when I play with them with the toys that make them go crazy, it's so joyful. Walking, hiking right now in the spring, it's lush, and just stopping and being with all of that, it's just exquisite. Yeah, so just not missing those things. In my backyard, it's full of bees because we've got lavender and rosemary and jasmine and lantana, and they are just those bees, and it's just, and they don't bother me. I don't bother them. We're just cohabitating in the backyard. It's a delight. And Earl Grey iced tea latte. That's a joy for me as well. So yeah, lots of things bring me joy, and I think just the idea to bring it up and recognize that you need understand what it feels like. What does joy feel like for you? It's so important to recognize that. So yeah, thanks for the question.
Yeah, thank you both for that. So there's such great practices. And the ones, of course, being outside and being in nature resonate with me infinitely. Those are some of my deepest and biggest practices. But yeah, I find that, when you talk about really diving into spirit and you talk about embodying spirit, there is a way to really enliven yourself and to keep your cup full. And if we're talking about, the highest seat being a love frequency, then how are you sort of immersing yourself in that consistently to really be able to get it for yourself, to have an overflow, to share it with others? So yeah, bliss practices are really big for me. So I'm always curious, how others are finding their way into bliss. So thank you both for
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Um, and thank you both for taking this time and pouring and giving so much in this moment. I am incredibly grateful, and I am excited to, share this so folks can come and see, come and sit with you for a quick moment and, come and choose to sit with you for some days on retreat here at BBRC. So again, everyone, you can find the retreat details on our calendar at bigbearretreatcenter.org. The retreat will be from May 21st to May 25th. Hold on.
May 25th to 29th.
Excuse me. I'm thinking of a different one. May
That was
20.
the old dates.
Okay, May 25th to May 29th, excuse me. And you can come and sit with Mary and Sydney for a few days and continue to experience and dive into these rich conversations and nuggets from the Dharma. So thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Che. Thank you, Sydney. Much love.
Thank you, you too. Love you both. Have a great retreat, my friend.